Alright guys, we got something different for the channel today. This is my neighbor's 2000 Honda Civic. It has the B16A series engine in it, which is the JDM version of the B16. So get down there and see the marker on the block there. He's got a couple different problems going on with it. The first thing is that his throttle position sensor, somebody somewhere along the line has jerry-rigged this thing. You can see where it's been broken off back here and they filed it down. And what he's got here is he's got one of the teeth for the position sensor is like stuck in the middle there. So we need to get that throttle position sensor off of the car and get it replaced. We have the aftermarket part for it. The problem is going to be in the back. It has the rivet type screws that are capped that you can't really unscrew. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the throttle body completely off of the car to get to that. So I'm going to set the camera up here and we're just going to take that off real quick. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the mass air sensor with the idle air control on the top, and we're going to go after this one nut on the top to take the intake part loose. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to go after it's actually on the throttle body. It has it has a nut, and it has a nut, and then it has a bolt, and it has a bolt. So we're going to loosen those up, and we're also going to have to take the throttle cable off. All you have to do with that, work that down, and slide that out. There we go. The throttle cable's loose, and we're just ready to take these nuts off. There should be 12 millimeters, and they are. All right, with the throttle body loose, we're going to go ahead and pull that off now. It should have a warming hose on the back of it that actually runs up from the coolant system that warms this up, and it actually tells the computer when the car is starting to heat up, so that drops your idle down. Pull that off. We do have a new gasket for this. See how the old one looks. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of trouble to get that off. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, I'm going to release this heater hose here and this heater hose back here, and then we'll have the throttle body off. All right, so since we have the throttle body off, open it up real quick right here. I'm going to show you what we're after. The main part about your throttle body is when it's open, you want the inside part here to be as clean as it possibly can. So that's what we're going after right here. You can go and close it. And then the back side of it, yeah, we'll get this clean too, but that's not the most important part. It's the actual place around here that's going to let the air go through. So we're going to hit that with some cleaner. We're going to brush it out real good and get this cleaned up. All right, we worked on just getting the crust off of the inside of the throttle body. This one was pretty clean actually. Not too bad. So the next step was going to be to take the gasket material off. We just got a little razor blade. We're just going to work that off very gently, being careful not to scratch the mating surfaces. And once I get that off, we're going to come back and we're going to look at how we're going to try to get these rivets. They're actually screws out of the old throttle body positions. I mean, the old throttle position sensor, and get that out. So the new one that we have actually has hex head bolts to run that back in, so we won't have any kind of problem putting it back in. So we're going to get this cleaned off, and we're going to come right back. Okay, we got one of those screws out. It's got a rivet head on the top, and but it's threaded in there. I don't know how Honda makes that work when they at the factory when they install these things. but to get it back out is a little bit of a pain. So what I did is I filed, you see it's got a little bit of a crown on it, so I filed that crown flat, and then once I had the crown flat, I came back with this type of file here that's triangular, and then I put a groove through it through the middle of it like that until I could get a flathead screwdriver in there. Once I had enough depth, it was able to thread that out. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to grind that flat, and we're going to put a groove in it. We're going to get it out with the screwdriver. Alright guys, we finally got that other piece off. It's just a matter of filing these rivets down flat and then putting a groove in them. If you have a Dremel tool or something like that, that'll probably be your easiest bet. Once you get a groove drilled into it, then use a flathead screwdriver and take it out. This is the one that came out. You see it had the prong broke off in the middle, and the whole little cover for this was broke off. And here is our new piece here. And we're going to get that put on right now. Okay, if you can see down in here, it's got this place here that's where it's going to hang on to something. And if you look at the new sensor here, you see this piece that's sticking up. That's what's going to go into that. It's going to be, if I don't have it backwards. And then you want to twist it to where it goes. Now there is a gasket. I'm going to put that gasket on, but I was just showing you right there how that's going to fit into the old piece. Okay, once you have all that lined up, we're going to run our new screws, which are not rivet heads, into this. And then there is some adjustment that has to be made once you have it back on the car, and I'll show you when we get to that point. Okay, I have that on. It's not tight yet because we still have to make an adjustment to it, because that can actually rotate left and right a little bit. We got our new gasket here. You can see how everything lines up, and all we're going to do is bolt this onto the intake manifold now, and we need to reconnect our water hoses on either side. So I'm going to come back when we get that part done. Alright, we got that back on. I got both of the heater hoses put back on the bottom, the two nuts and the two bolts, and the last thing to do is to get the throttle cable back in. And all we're going to do is to do that, you can see it's got a gap in it here. We're going to rotate this all the way down, and we're going to put this round part into that and make sure it wraps underneath there. And after that, we should be able to hook everything back up, and we should be good to go. Okay, we have the throttle position sensor reinstalled back into the car now. And what I've done is there's three wires. There's a yellow wire, a black wire, and a red wire that run into the throttle position sensor. And what I've done is I've stuck a needle in the back side of the red wire because we need to test the voltage right there. So that one side goes into my voltmeter. I have the other side connected to ground. We have the key on accessory, and with the throttle completely closed, we're reading 0.567 volts. We want that to be around 0.5. Now I'm going to go with my hand, and I'm going to open the throttle all the way to wide open throttle. WOT, we want it to be at 4.5. And you see here we're at 4.52. So with those two readings right where they need to be, 0.5, wide open throttle, 4.5, we know we have the throttle position sensor in the correct position. So now we're going to lock down the nut on top and on the bottom and go back and retest it and make sure that everything's good to go with this car. Alright, so I just went back with the Allen wrench and tightened up this top bolt and the bottom bolt. Went back and rechecked my readings on my multimeter. At no throttle at all, it was reading 0.5, and at full throttle it was reading 4.4 something. So it needs to be between 0.5 at no throttle, 4.5 at wide open throttle. We're close enough. So that we're going to call this a good fix right here. The check engine light is now off of this car. It runs good. We do have a water leak over here at the what we believe is going to be the water pump. We'll have a video for that coming out. And thank you to my neighbor here for letting us tinker on his 2000 B16A.